Hello everyone, I'm Chris Billingham. I hope I can use this clicker. No. The whole thing falls down. So yes, Bob the Builder's here, and he's to talk to you today about can we build it? Yes, we can. So what do I mean by that? Well, first off, we're going to talk about me, which is great fun. So product director at Etiq. We're building a data science copilot. What is that? No one knows, not even me. I used to work at Peak and Mago. I used to be a data scientist a long time ago. So I say lapsed, but I live in beautiful Buxton. But I'm here to tell you a story today. I want you to meet Will. I like Will. Look at that face. He's very happy. An evolutionary biologist. He's a professor. There's his website, and there's his blue sky. But Will talked about something that happened to him, which is really relevant to what I'm going to talk to you about today. So Will tried to use Claude Code for a personal project where he had a tax problem that he wanted to solve with brute force Monte Carlo simulation. Wow, using that at home as not just at work. So he decided, smooth, that he's going to use and analyze the model with Claude Code. And if you've used these tools before, particularly Claude Code, right, it's like injecting code into you. You feel really powerful. It's spitting stuff out. There's stuff happening. He had those superpowers, like an infinite supply of talented lab members, like 1,000 times speed. It's exhilarating, but very, very quickly the cracks were there. And as he says, if this was his grad student, he'd kick them out. So yeah, Bob's sad there because of what's going on with his pipelines. So the models, like, it's good at doing like low-level coding, extremely granular. If you're granular with your instructions, but you have to get in there and check its work. It's like when I ask my son to tidy his room, I'm going to have to check it every 10 seconds because he'll go off-piste. But it doesn't want to do that. It wants to like do things for you. It wants to be that great thing. It's going to spit out 100 lines of code. I remember doing it on a pipeline myself, and I was like, make it more complicated. And he was like, yes, I will. And like 1,000 lines of codes emerged. It was wild. But at the same time, he's going to tell you porkies. He's going to establish all these frameworks, but actually not tell you the truth of the situation. Look, Bob's mad. So he was asking about some stats that he'll use for his model. A web crawler was blocked, but Claude didn't admit that. He just made up some numbers. Like, that's fine. Unless you're looking, these things are going to happen. And as he says, if that was his grad student, he'd kick them out. You can't lie about these things because of how important it's ensuring that linkage between what you're trying to do, the context of what you're trying to do, and the output itself. It did crap like this over and over. So, you know, he's continuing to have a really bad time, but the key thing here is, he said, you can't trust this thing. And I think that's the key thing. Note, this is like new Bob the Builder. I don't recognize him, but, you know, we had to find a surprise picture of Bob. You can't trust the thing. Yikes. I mean, reading that through, it was a lazy Tuesday on Blue Sky, but, like, why is this happening? Like, what's going on? So, welcome to your traditional co-pilots, which is a bit, you know, of a funny phrase to use because they're all about 6 minutes old. But here's the traditional one. So what are they here to do? We're focusing on software development tasks. They use code-based indexing and semantic search. AI was built through consuming the code, right? It's there, it sees code, it goes, oh, code does thing. This is what this does. Now, what does this look like in a DS or ML world? So for data scientists, the problem is very different. It's not just about writing code to make things happen. It's about the interaction between data and code, right? So on the left-hand side in blue, we have our data. And then with the data, you do a code to it, which turns the data into new data. And then you do a code, and then you do data. And at each point, two things are happening, which is you're thinking about the context of the data that you have, and then the interaction with that code to change it. So code changes data. The problem is if you've built a tool that's just looking at the code, what happens to our dear friend, the data? It's an invisible second-class citizen in what it's trying to do. So not only as data scientists are we trying to keep this world together between data and code and back again as we're transforming it, as we're creating the models, but also we're keeping lots of this in our head. How do these things connect? So what does that look like if you have to think about it? So talk about the DS and ML cognitive load, this is a wonderful picture we've created a while ago. This is what a script could look like. So imagine those yellow blobs are data, and the diamonds in blue are the code that acts on that data. So what you can see is that you have a lot of things going on in what looks like a really complicated and intricate script. Things play into other things, things are part of other functions, things are all connected. This is the kind of stuff that you have to keep in your head. And this is just an extract and a process from what is a pretty simple Kaggle notebook. Like, this is what you have in your head. This is what you have to work with in order to take your data, manipulate the code. How has that changed? How are all these bits interacting? So all this is happening, all that context is in your head, yet tools that you want to work with that help to spit out the code don't have any of this. They just see, like, oh, I can make some code, it does a thing, I'm not being checked. So what can we do? How can Bob keep his robotic friends in check? By now, by the way, I was really deep into Google images on Bob the Builder, so they're getting a bit wild. But what Bob can do is he can introduce testing and RCA agents to a Copilot experience. So what are they? Introducing your testing and RCA agents. Imagine a testing agent. So you've got some code. Testing agent kicks in. I'm going to look at that code. What do we do at this point? Looking through the code, what is the most appropriate test at any single point? Now remember, your script isn't linear in the sense of it looks linear, but we have that interconnected map. So how do you know within that navigation what the right test is at any single point? So what the testing agent is, he can look at all that stuff and go, right, at this point, this is what this is happening. Another point, this is what this is happening. This is what you need at this specific point in your script. This is the best test for you. And that could be one, it could be many, it could be individual, it could be comparison. He's there to keep you safe. And he looks safe there. And then what's the RCA agent do? He leaps into action when the test fails. What is he there to do? He's enabled at the point of failure to say, how did this happen? Where did this come from? So what that RCA agent then does is looks at the point of failure and goes, oh, cool. Right, well, I may have a test failure here, but actually this happened navigating through the network to find where the first intervention point is and actually diagnose what the problem is. So between those two things, they're actively testing the data itself against the code that has been generated. So that RCA agent is there to get you going again. So as I said, this is kind of how it works. If you imagine this analysis of the script, seeing that kind of lineage about where your code connects together, it can understand exactly where you need to have that test. So for example, we've got, oh, you're doing a train test split. Let me check, have we got any target leakage in there? That's probably a thing to do at that point. A bit further down, we're building a model. Let's look at some accuracy. These things are very easy for it to pick up and check as they go along. And then the RCA agent goes, hang on, here we have a failure, but actually it emerged further up, because what it's enabled to do is run multiple tests through the network to find the individual point that happened and go, it fails here, it's successful here. Problem. So it's about finding that and then identifying what the right course of action is at that point. So together, they can work and supplement that Copilot experience to keep the whole thing on track and safe. So let's walk through a process that you could do. We get some data, we go to our friend Claude Code, we feel enabled, we're like, hey man, build that pipeline. He builds the pipeline, the testing agent goes, let's just check your homework. Works his way all the way through, testing as he goes, gets lots of things that have passed, but there's some things that fail. We don't want failures in there. So then the RCA agent kicks in and goes, cool, let's have a look at what's happened. Let's go and analyze all that thing, and then let's identify what the thing that's gone wrong is, where it happened, and what's the most appropriate fix at that point. Then you feed it back into the loop in a lovely virtuous circle that says, go and fix this thing at this point this way. And you keep going through that loop. So whilst Claude or Windsurf or Cursor may want to go off and create all these edifices, at every single point, our two friends that keep us safe and gets us going again are constantly stuck there going, you've just made up some data. That doesn't exist. It doesn't work. So what it allows you to do is run that through a process and actually, from a data science point of view, get you to a good pipeline without any hallucinations. So Bob, scary Bob, this one, like a real life Bob, is very happy because what has he been able to do? He's been able to use that Copilot experience to build himself an ML pipeline in a way that doesn't break. And actually, it's fully tested. And actually, it's tested all the way along so that not only have you created that pipeline super, super quick, it's probably better tested than many pipelines you may have met. So I put my Bob hat on. We're building towards that at Etiq. Thursday just gone, released 2.1. 2 hours, 18 minutes ago, did 2.1.1. That was a fun phone call. But we'd love loads of you to try this out. We're starting on this journey of creating these agents that are doing this work to look at your scripts differently. So great feedback gets a t-shirt if you email me afterwards. The quick start is there. But that is a world where a data science copilot could make Bob the Builder happy with his ML pipelines. So that's me.